And here we go. We're going to go live to Facebook very soon, preparing. And we got confirmation. We are live on Facebook.
Awesome.
But ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. I'm your host, Adam Carswell. Hi, Grandma. Joined today by Timothy Douglas, who is a podcast host and entrepreneur. I just got to hang out with Timmy a little bit not too long ago in Austin, Texas. The story of how we first got connected and have gotten to know each other over, I'd say, at least the past 6 months or so is pretty cool. Been looking forward to having this guy on the show and just picking his mind and hopefully providing some inspiration. I was going to say to the younger audience out there, but even to some of our older listeners, the go-getter mentality that this guy has is going to light a fire under your butt today. Guaranteed. So Timmy, before I go ahead and tell our story, just want to flip it over to you real quick. How you doing? You know, what are you looking forward to talking about today, and anything else that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, Adam. Thanks for having me on the show. First and foremost, I'm doing well. And I'd say the thing I'm looking forward to talking about the most is probably just my podcast. It's what I'm passionate about. It's very similar to Dream Chasers. It's called Living the Dream, People's Dreams and Goals. And you know, ever since I was young, I remember hearing about what people wanted to do and just so badly wanting to see them succeed and wanting to like help them out in that. And so made a podcast about it and trying to build a community around it. So that's probably what I'm most excited to talk about.
Yep. And I was just trying to shoot you a DM here on the Zoom chat. The beauties of going live. 1 second here. I'm DMing Timmy, guys. Whatever, this is how we do it. It seems like there was like a little, from a podcast host to a podcast host, it seems like there's like a little poppy noise on your mic when you like that.
Oh, gotcha.
Just looking at no, okay, we're good. Just move it away a little bit. There we go. All right. Beauties of going live, beauties of podcasting. You live and you learn, and you're going to learn a lot, as I mentioned, from Timmy Douglas here today, guys. So I first met Timmy, as I mentioned, April, whenever, maybe even March this past year. We had Uncle G, Grant Cardone, on the podcast, and I'm on LinkedIn one day and someone reshared the post that I put up with us interviewing Grant Cardone, and I'm like, who is this kid? And I like click on it, look at his profile, and I don't know. I mean, I think I just I sent you a quick message. I said, thanks for sharing it. Or you reached out to me, and I could just tell instantly, like, wow, he's ready to network. Like, he followed up with me, asked questions. Next thing you know, he was doing some marketing projects with us at Liberty Real Estate Fund. Shout out to Michael Flight. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you're in a position right now where you can be taking on new roles and responsibilities, but I just got to say, like, if anyone out there is looking for a young, hungry, entrepreneurially, is that a word, minded individual, look no further than Timmy Douglas. Go ahead and just kind of shed some light on what I'm talking about here, Timmy. Help me fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is it sounding?
It sounds better now too. Yep. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. On that LinkedIn post, I think you posted about the 10X rule, and I had just got done reading that book, and it had completely shifted my mindset. I went from, shooting for like 12 houses that year as a realtor to 120. And as soon as I shot to 120 houses, I like started seeing new information and seeking new information and seeking new connections. And so that's kind of how we got connected. And just in terms of like that book and how it shifts your mindset, like it makes you prioritize differently, prioritize your time differently. And also Grant Cardone talks about one of his biggest mistakes being not 10x. Like he always took massive action, but like not 10xing the mindset and his goals. So he shot too low. And I feel like that's a common error that a lot of people make in their life. And then they're too old to like change it once they're like 70, 75 looking back on life. So that's just something I want to avoid now. Shoot big while I'm young.
Dude, I love it. And I just dropped it here for anyone joining us on Facebook in the live chat. 10X rule. There's a little book summary there. I'm sure you can find a link to go snag it. That's one of those books where every time you read it, you get something new out of it. Highly recommend reading it once per year. I know a few people that read it once per quarter, and it just simply lights a fire under your butt. As Timmy mentioned, he was looking at closing 12 houses a year as a realtor. He's like, I'm gonna do 120. And you know what? I just remembered this is something I used to say all the time, and I'd say I don't really say it quite as much anymore, but I think I still have the mindset of like I want to build a lot of wealth for myself and all those around me, right? Like it's a ripple effect, and I've just seen what wealth generation and wealth creation can do to help change the lives of those around you. But I used to say that I wanted to I think I said I wanted to make or get a net worth of $9 billion, and then I read 10x and I was like, all right, maybe I should make it 90 billion. If we ever hit that number, cool. But it's just one of those things where when you read that book, you're like, man, I'm not thinking big enough. I think that's what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
Yeah. And I would
So
say that's the beautiful thing about 10X. Like, it's not even, the goals aren't even supposed to be attainable. Like, they're supposed to stretch you to an extent where it like creates new problems, is what he talks about. So it's like, and then you find yourself actually attaining them because they are attainable. Like, you can do anything type of thing.
sure, absolutely. And another powerful thing that goes with that, and I know he gets into it in the book too, but I mean, just the simple act of writing down your goals, kind of journaling, focusing on where you want to go. There's something magic about it. I don't know how else to put it. So if you haven't like taken approach or you haven't written down your goals in a while, I'm gonna just give you a quick nudge right now, wherever you are listening. Take 5 minutes today to write down 5 goals that you'd like to hit within the next year, 3 years, 5 years, and just store that somewhere where you can revisit it and think about it. There's magic, there's power in writing. Do it. So now talking about 10xing our approach on whatever it may be, something, as we mentioned, Timmy is the host of Living the Dream podcast. And he's shifting his show from, I believe, what was weekly or maybe even sporadically to now a daily podcast, which is an insane amount of work. However, the only people that I know that shifted their model from monthly, weekly, whatever podcasting to daily have seen amounts of growth that just completely changed the rest of their life. And so I was like, dude, are you like, before we talk about this on the podcast, are you committed? Like, are you actually going to do a daily podcast? And Timmy goes, well, I have 80 interviews lined up right now. So yeah, I think I'm going to do it. So tell us about your mindset shift there. How did you decide you want to do a daily podcast? How did you book 80 interviews? And what's going through your head heading into this next chapter of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I decided I wanted to do the daily podcast when I decided to go all in on what I actually wanted. So quick story, like earlier we talked about me wanting to close 120 homes as a realtor. The only reason I really got into being a realtor was because I didn't believe that I could jump into apartment syndication or jump into my dreams and goals as soon as possible. And so I was like, I kind of compromised with myself. And when I got out of that compromising with myself and I was like, no, I'm going to focus on what I'm passionate about and I'm going to build that. That's when I started actually focusing on the podcast. And then I applied that 10X mindset to it. And I'm like, I'm going to go daily. Like, what else to do? And then I started like, the best ever apartment syndication book was the first thing that put me on to a daily podcast. And then I met Whitney, who's actually a mentee of Joe Fairless, I'm pretty sure. And Whitney has a daily podcast also about real estate. And I was like, I'm just going to do a daily podcast. Like, I see all these successful people doing it. Success leaves clues. Like, take a hint, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
dude, I love it. And I'm gonna look up just real quick here and see if I can find it. Both Whitney and Joe Fairless's show that you just referenced, because those are just great resources. Courtney, that you can put in the show notes, but then also just to have here in the Facebook chat. So Joe Fairless podcast. So yeah, but I mean, exactly. Model what works. And that's sounds like that's what you're getting ready to do. Tell us about how did you it sounds like you lined up 80 guests in a small period of time. How did you line up that many guests?
yeah, I literally did it probably in about a week and a half, which was crazy to me. But I just shifted my strategy. I was talking with, so I think networking is huge. And when you network with like minded people, like they point out things that your immediate circle may not. If your immediate circle isn't exactly like-minded and you're trying to grow your wealth and you've been caught in some stuff from your past, you know? So I met with this entrepreneur who's fairly successful, and he asked me the question, what if it was easy? Like, ask yourself that question, what if it were easy? What would it look like? And so I asked myself that question with recruiting. I was like, what if it were easy? Well, if it were easy, there would be people out there who have said that they want to be on a podcast, who have something they want to talk about, and they would all be congregated in one place. And then I looked for that place, and matchmaker.fm is literally like a podcasting hub. Like, so many shows are on there, and then so many guests are on there, and you can just, if you get the premium subscription, which is very cheap, I think it's like $99 a year, you can shoot out unlimited DMs to people who want to be on podcasts and have something they want to talk about. And luckily, my podcast is very general in that it's about people's dreams and goals, and that's what I'm passionate about. And everybody has a dream, everybody has a goal, especially people who want to be on podcasts. So I can just shoot them out indiscriminately, and then, you know, if somebody comes on and they're like really, really whack, we won't post that episode. But I don't think people's dreams and goals are going to be whack. So
yeah. That's cool though. So I dropped that in the comments as well. Matchmaker.fm. I haven't heard of it. I am familiar with a few, I guess you could say, podcasting services. I think I've used Spot a Guest, I want to call it, before. I haven't committed, like you, I have not committed to a daily show yet though. So it's interesting the different ways you can use it. I know if you are looking to make guest appearances though, to services like this help as well. I know a lot of our listeners might not be starting their own show, but they're looking to go on tour or make guest appearances on different platforms. Would you recommend Matchmaker for that service as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to make a pretty hefty like guest profile. Like, you have to sell yourself on Matchmaker because a lot of podcasts, people who want to be guests are going on there. So you have to have, like, you know, the info sheet that typical podcast guests have, and your talking points and what exactly you're going to talk about. But if you have those things together, even if you don't, go on Matchmaker, set up a profile. It's really easy. And then you can start reaching out to shows. So that's probably the most important thing. You have to be proactive about it. Shows aren't just going to come to you.
Okay, cool. So we're getting a little Matchmaker.fm like hacking right here. Let's ask one more question about it. I mean, if you had to go back on Matchmaker right now, one, as a guest, and two, as a podcast host, and you just wanted to make sure that you had your profile and everything ready to go to launch out into the universe to either attract people to you or to get you on other shows, what's the one thing that you would do, make sure you do with your profile as a host, and the one thing you make sure you do with your profile as a guest?
As a host, I think it's the same for both. I think it's clarity and authenticity. Because if you're not clear on what you want on Matchmaker, a lot of people will be turned off by you. Like, for example, when I first started my podcast and it was sporadic, I was only doing things in Austin because I wanted to use it to build my realtor career. Then I made the shift, and a bunch of people have been like, I don't know if I can be on the show because I'm not in Austin. I'm like, well, that's not even the point of the show anymore. And so that clarity is kind of switching people up, and may have made me lose like 10 or 20 potential guests, you know? And so you have to be really clear. And dang, I forgot. What was the other word I said?
You just said clarity and authenticity.
Yes, clarity and authenticity. You have to be authentic because you want to, this is just life really, but you want to attract what you will like vibe with. And so if you start lying on your profile to get maybe on more high profile shows, you might A, embarrass yourself, or B, just like form relationships that you can't sustain in the long term.
Got it. Yeah. And then how much time do you think, I'm just thinking from a perspective of someone who really wants to hit Matchmaker hard and get some results, like you get 80 bookings. What does the time commitment look like in regards to that?
So the time commitment to get bookings, I think it's both, honestly. You set up your profile, that shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes unless you're a perfectionist. And if you're a perfectionist, you're really just a procrastinator.
Well said.
Yeah, setting up your profile, 30 minutes, hour tops, and then you can buy the premium subscription. And from there, you can start shooting out DMs to shows that interest you. And so that filtering process, depending on how specific your talking points are, may take a little longer. There may not be as many shows. You might have to go out to other platforms like Matchmaker, but I hire a VA, $4 an hour, and she will like shoot out the 100 messages per day for me, and then she'll also shoot them the template email that I created once they respond back with their email, and that email has instructions and a Calendly link on it, and they just book it from there. And so I'm not really doing anything for the booking.
You just said something that was like so powerful, and I love that you didn't even realize how powerful. You just naturally said it. First of all, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22. I know people who are 52 and still have not hired their first VA. I can tell you this, and Timmy, you've probably seen it for yourself now. All it takes is taking the step forward and saying, okay, you might not know specifically what this person is going to do when you commit to it, but you got to make that first hire, especially when a 22-year-old is out here hustling, paying $4 an hour, getting his career started. And you have her doing that task. Is she by chance doing anything else for you? Even if not, I'm still very impressed. But like, I guess tell us real quickly what it was like for you hiring a VA. How much time did it take? How did you decide she's going to do that? I know I just asked you like 3 questions there, but give us what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hiring process, I've known about onlinejobs.ph for a while now. I just went on there. I had thought about doing this in college for a wholesaling gig, and I retreated instead of taking massive action on it. And this time I decided to take massive action. I just hired a VA. So I Googled for like 10 minutes how to hire a good VA. And they're like, instead of like making a job request, you have to reach out to top performers. So I actually reached out to a top performer. She couldn't do it, but she referred a friend who is also in the Philippines to do it. And I just hired her off the bat because I was like, I need to hire somebody. I can fire them in a week if they really suck, but I need to hire somebody and just get it over with. And she's been doing great. Like, obviously, I'm having her do pretty simple tasks, but I'm also like, most things are pretty simple. So I can teach her how to do most things. And so I make training videos. I made the training video on how she needs to recruit, on how she needs to send the emails. I'm scaling her to like posting the podcast, and then eventually it's going to be managing the social media. So the only thing I'm going to have to do is hop on, record the podcast, and she's going to handle everything from the recruitment to the follow-up to the posting and scheduling out, like cutting snippets out of the podcast and scheduling those snippets out on social media over time.
Wow. I'm so proud of you, man. Like, seriously, the fact that you figured that out and you're 22. Age doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot, but like, I can't tell you how many people I know that haven't done what you just did, and it probably took you like how long did it take you to do everything that we just talked about? And by the way, are you recording on Loom? Are you using loom.com to show them how to do it, or how are you documenting to show her what to do?
Yeah, I just get on Zoom and I do a screen share.
Okay.
And I record it there, and then I upload it to Google Drive, and I'll send her an email if I upload a training video.
I'll give you, for what it's worth, my 2 cents. Create an account, a free account on loom.com, loom.com, for all of our listeners as well. I like Loom because, when you get out of a Zoom thing, you got to wait for it to like process, and then you got to upload it, whatever. Loom is like done instantly. You get a URL, shoot it over. It'll track, it'll let you know, Jimmy just viewed your video or whatever. So huge advocate of Loom as well. But either way, dude, like the way that you're doing it is still, I'm so impressed right now. So I want to keep talking about like just this, again, the whole process that you've just gone through in the past. When did you start this? When did you say, okay, I'm going to do the daily? When was that?
Whenever the like Liberty Real Estate
at the conference.
At the conference, I talked to Whitney, and I knew he was doing a daily podcast, and I was like, okay, Whitney, like, give me some tips. Like, how can I get this off the ground? Because a couple days before that, I'd been really thinking about it. Then I met him, and he was like, you got to hire a team. You got to hire a team. Wow. You can't do it alone. And I followed his advice.
So you now, Whitney Sewell is her full name, by the way, and he's a friend of mine. So hopefully, I know there's all kinds of rules in podcasting and name dropping people. Whitney, I hope you're okay with this. His link is in the comments. I just connected with him not too long ago as well. And you are now the second person I know that his simple answer has inspired them to go so far. And I'll leave this person anonymous, but there's some very successful people that I know in regards to apartment syndication raising money that they were on a Zoom call with Mr. Sewell. And he said to them something as simple as, you can do it. Like, because they were thinking that they, similar to you and myself, they were thinking that they had to go the single family home route in order to get into this game. And he said something along the lines to them like, you don't have to do that. You can start right here with multifamily. And I mentioned that to him once. And he's like, it didn't register. He didn't remember that conversation, but I know those people remember that moment where he told him that. And now you have a moment, or maybe he does remember it, but you're never going to forget that moment that he looked you in the eyes and he's like, you got to do it. You got to hire a team. So here's just like a free commercial for Whitney Sewell, ladies and gentlemen, go check out his show. The guy is just like cream of the crop, to say the least. So that's cool to hear that at the blockchain real estate conference is when you received that inspiration. Also, because that conference was about blockchain and real estate. It wasn't about podcasting, but you got your $2,000 idea out of that experience, which is just so cool and so powerful. The last thing I just want to say here is, again, if you guys go back and listen to everything that Timmy just outlined, he basically did it, as he mentioned. We're recording this on October 13th. So he's done all of this in less than a month to position himself to start a daily podcast. Now, the big question is, moving into the future, how do you think it's going to go? Do you think you're going to be able to sustain? What do you want to do this for a year, 2 years, forever? What's the future look like?
Yeah, for sure. So I've had crazy thoughts of a more than daily podcast where there are multiple hosts and then different types of shows, but under the same kind of branded podcast. But for now, it'll just be me posting the daily podcast. And as soon as I get it ramped up to daily, so like right now we're posting weekly until we get a stockpile of 90 episodes, which will basically happen by the end of November. By the end of November, we'll start posting daily and making sure the systems are clean and running for that. The hardest part for me is going to be recording that many episodes that frequently, consistently. And the way I'm going to stay consistent with that is just making sure I keep scheduling them. Because if I keep scheduling them, I'm going to show up and I've like committed. And so I'm just going to do it. And when it gets to the point where I am getting tired, it's just time to refocus. Because it's like, I also work a W-2 right now, and that makes me extremely tired. But like, I'm not going to work for somebody else and like make them rich and then not work on my dreams. Like,
right.
It's absurd.
That's a quote. So, that's a money quote right there. Just putting it that way.
Yeah, straight up. And so it's just going to be a matter of like refocusing. Why am I doing this? I have two big goals in life. It's like providing financial freedom for myself and my family, and then working the rest of my life to end poverty around the world. So if I'm going to do that, it's like, you got to get your head on straight now and like grind where you need to grind.
Absolutely. I love it, man. There's like so many things about your story that I don't know. I see in myself, and I want for you, I want to see this, like, I want to see you just go like to the next level, as we like to say. I want to see this daily podcast blow up, and you have the work ethic and you have the drive. I can attest, like, since I've met you, you've always followed up. You did some work for us at Liberty Real Estate Fund. You're probably Michael's favorite employee of all time that I've ever talked to him. Like, he's like, why? Sometimes I'll say, he's like, why can't you be more like Timmy and blah, blah, blah. So like, as you mentioned, man, just keep, excuse me, keep scheduling. It's interesting also that you've identified that as like the one actionable thing that you need to do to keep this moving, is just keep scheduling. That's really also very powerful. So everyone listening, keep that in mind, but keep scheduling. And it sounds like, for Timmy Douglas, like, just keep breathing, man, and recording, and it's going to work out for you. So what else, what other advice do you have for us, or for anyone who's thinking about going this way? I know it's still kind of new to you, but you got to have some recommendations or some wisdom.
It's such a cliche piece of advice, but I think the biggest thing is get authentic as soon as possible. Like, don't take massive action in direction you hate and get yourself in like some golden handcuffs. So like maybe you're like becoming an attorney that's working 80 hours a week and you're going to be financially well off, but you're going to like hate your life. Don't do that. Be courageous enough to take massive action towards like authenticity and build your business like around that. So like, I don't know if you know carrot.com. It's like a website for real estate agents, real estate investors. Anyway, the CEO of that does this thing called an energy audit, and he'll be like, what are the things that give me energy and what are the things that take energy away from me? And every like quarter or every year or whatever, he refocuses on the things that give him energy, and he builds systems to cut down on the things that take away energy. I think that's a very, very important thing to do, because if your work's not giving you energy every day, it's going to be hard to sustain, which is kind of another point. I'm going to be able to sustain the podcast because I love talking to people about their dreams and goals. Very few people would be able to sustain what I'm about to sustain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many. That's the other thing too, is I can't tell you how many people I know that have started a show and it's kind of like faltered or fizzled out. And it normally happens anywhere from like, I think statistically they say maybe like the 3 month to like 3 month to 1 year threshold is like where 80% or 90% of podcasts just drop off. So it sounds like for you, this is one of those activities that gives you energy. But, I guess reiterate it again. What is it that you believe is actually going to, excuse me, drive you to go more than a year with this? Like, what's the one thing about you that makes you different than the other 90%?
I think I get really invested in other people's dreams and goals. Like when I say that is like the thing I'm passionate about, the thing that gives me energy, it's like when I hear that somebody wants to succeed in an area of their life, I am sometimes more committed to making that happen for them than I am to like making it happen for me. Like I'll be like, my dreams and goals can wait. Like I really want to see you thrive, which is crazy. It's insane, but it's also why I have to like
I'll keep going. I'm just loving it right now. I feel the same way. Keep going.
Yeah, man. And it's why when I'm like trying to execute, I can't focus on myself. Like I have to reframe towards my family and towards like people I could have helped if I was better off right now. Because if I don't do that, dude, if it comes down to my dreams and goals, I'll go sit on the couch because like I have the rest of my life. But when it comes down to like my mom going on the vacation she's wanted to for 30 years, it's like, no, it's time to grind for that. And it's a very similar thing. Like that stuff just gives me energy in a very strange way. Like I actually get you hear a lot of motivational like speakers and coaches be like, I want it for you more than you want it for you. And that statement is very true when it comes to me and other people's dreams and goals, because I just want it for them so bad, which is why that's why it works for me.
Yeah, that's why you are and will continue to be a great podcaster, because you're coming from clearly a place of authenticity, and then also sounds like similar to me, man. Because I've introduced you to people too. Like I love connecting the dots. Like to me, there's no more fun thing to do than like connecting people and then seeing the connection pop and happen. Like seeing what happened since you met Michael Flight and did some stuff at Liberty Fund, I was like, yes, like it's awesome. Now Michael tells me how Timmy's better than me, but yes, it's good. So to hear you say that is just like, you even have dream in the title of your podcast as well. So yeah, I'm at a loss for words, but that's really cool. Do you have any other follow up on that?
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's what gets me hyped, and that's all I got to say. It
Cool.
keeps me going. Keeps me going.
So let's get to know Timmy a little bit more here. Think of some nice popcorn questions for you. First one is going to be, we always like to ask this whenever we can. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor? I'm gonna have to say cookies and cream.
Good choice. Good choice. I like cookies and cream a lot. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I definitely could eat some, especially right now. I could actually go for some. So that's cool.
Yeah.
My dad asked this question to a group of people recently, and I was like, whoa, that was a really good, like, it got everyone in this group thinking really hard. So I'm going to hit you with it. If you were stranded on a desert island, you never knew like when you're going to get off this thing, what's the one CD, not like playlist, not, I guess not tape, but like, what's the one CD that you would take with you?
Wait, what's a CD?
Like,
I was just playing.
okay, I'm gonna say I know you're 22, but
let me think. I don't know. That's a really hard question.
It's a tough one. I had to think about it for a while. If you want to loop back to it, we can.
Yeah, we should loop back to that one. Sure.
Okay. So we recommended multiple times already the book 10X. If you haven't read it already, if you haven't read it before, go get it. If you haven't read it recently, revisit it. Very inspirational. And I mean, I'll be the first one to say too, like, I don't think everyone out there should aim to be necessarily just like Grant Cardone, but like, you should definitely read that book. It'll give you some mindset shifts. So where I was going with that is what, aside from 10X, what's the first book that comes to mind for you that you'd recommend our listeners to go and check out? First one comes to mind.
I would say
your favorite.
It was The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Ooh, nice. I actually met someone in your city right now recently who has had multiple meetings within the past month with Gary Keller. I was like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's epic.
Yep. I think he's trying to. Well, I won't. Never mind. I won't go into details, but it was cool to hear. So The One Thing, great book. I also highly recommend that one as well. That one gave me some mindset shifts too. So here we go. CD. We're circling back to it.
All right, CD. I never had this on CD, but it would probably be a movie, and it would be Remember the Titans on CD.
Wow. Like, oh, so you would like listen to the movie on CD? Or is it like the soundtrack?
I know that movie so well. It would be like playing in my head as I listen to it.
Wow.
I love that movie.
That's a unique answer. I think the answer was like, it was supposed to be like a musical, but I can't say that doesn't count. That was like a very creative answer.
If it was musical, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't listen to music from like the ages of 10 to 18, so it's all very recent music. I'd probably do the Hamilton soundtrack.
Okay, there we go. Hamilton soundtrack, and if possible, Remember the Titans, the audio of the movie. That's a good idea. It's because it's just like, if you know what's happening in the movie, you're just sitting there listening to it.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's like I could see every scene when it's played with the audio.
Nice. Good stuff. Okay, so Timmy, what is the one thing right now, if you could request anyone out there listening to just kind of help you perpetuate you in your business? I'm going to go ahead and maybe not recommend. I'm going to assume, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Would you want anyone listening who's looking to become a guest on a show? Would you recommend them to reach out to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Reach out to me. The other thing is, when you reach out to me, I ask that you come with at least one, preferably 2 to 3 super connectors that you know. And if you don't know what a super connector is, think of Adam. He is a super connector. But super connectors are basically people who live for and love connecting people to make things happen. And they have that broad network, and they're constantly building that broad network with other people in mind. And the reason I ask that is because kind of the vision for my podcast is to build an audience of super connectors. So when a guest comes on, maybe they're not the highest profile guest, but it's another 22-year-old with a dream or a goal. And all these super connectors are listening to the show with the intent of connecting that 22-year-old to the person that they need to be connected to take the next first step in their life.
Wow. I love that. Obviously, you knew I was going to love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, just to be clear, if you had to say it in 1 or 2 sentences, to take your business to the next level, who and what are you looking for specifically? If you could just condense that one more time.
Yep. I'm looking for podcast guests and super connectors to consistently listen to the podcast.
Cool. Boom. There we go. Thank you. And the best way to reach out, follow up, and get in touch with you, say the one best way. What would that be?
The one best way is to text me at 512-591-6138. Again, that's 512-591-6138. Just not at 2 a.m.
Say text Timmy, putting it in the live chat. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some love right here. But not 2 a.m. is the cutoff. 2 a.m. Central.
Yep, 2 a.m. Central.
Okay, he's up hustling. There we go. That's all. That is it. We got the contact. We got the call to action. Anything else, Timmy?
Nope. All good. If you ever want to talk real estate, I love to talk it. So you can hit me up for that too.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another fantastic episode of Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. We were joined by Timothy Douglas, podcast host and entrepreneur. Get ready. Oh, you know what? There was one more thing. We need a way for people to go check out your show. So is there, what's the best place to go to listen to Living the Dream?
The best place to go right now is in my Instagram bio. I have a link to it on Spotify.
Okay.
And so my Instagram bio is at Tim Douglas 924, I'm pretty sure. And you can click on the link. There'll be a Spotify link. It's also on Apple. I just haven't put the link up there yet. I'll do that too. But my website's in the works. I'm just having somebody develop it right now. So that's not the best place yet, but that will be workwithtimmydouglas.com.
Okay. That will be the URL once it's ready.
Yep. Workwithtimmydouglas.com.
Okay, cool. So
it's already up and you can go see the podcast. It's just out of date.
Okay. No worries. Yeah. Who knows? This show is going to go out there into the universe forever. So Courtney, if you could get Timmy's URL in the show notes, that'd be awesome. And then what was the Instagram handle again?
At Tim Douglas 924.
924. That's what
check
okay,
it.
Cool. I just want to get it in the Facebook comments. There we go. Cool. And you said just go to the link in the bio there. So there we go. Now you guys can go check out Timmy's show. Again, if you want to be on his show, we got his number in there. That's the one big call to action for you guys. Get your super connectors plugged in with Timmy as well. It's 512 is his phone number. 512-9. Oop, did I put it wrong? 512-591-613.
6138.
8. I was gonna say, hold on, I'm missing a number there. Can I edit the comment? I can. 8. There we go. Boom. All right, there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. As I mentioned, we were joined by Timmy Douglas, host of Living the Dream, also an entrepreneur, hungry, getting after it, 22 years old. Look out. I'm your host, Adam Carswell. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.